You're listening to the Good for Business podcast, where we feature interviews, tips, and tricks from owners, operators, and innovators throughout Mississippi and around the world. And now, your host, Colin Krieger. Welcome to the Good for Business podcast. This is our second big episode. Today, I've got Scott Ferguson from Financial Concepts in the house. Welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me, Colin. Looking forward to being a part of this.
This is grown-up stuff here right now. So as we do every week, as you know, 2 shows in, start with the pedigree information. Who, what, when, where, and why are you?
Yeah, well, I'm Scott Ferguson, born and raised right here in Columbus. Been here my entire life. I've got 3 children. My oldest, Bentley, is 18, just graduated high school. I've got a 9-year-old Myers who's going to be a 4th grader. And then I've got a kindergartner. My little girl, Dylan, is going to be in kindergarten this year. And then, of course, got my lovely wife, Whitney, who runs the Rowdy Foundation here in Columbus.
Okay, and you live out in the prairie, and now your office is in somewhat prairie, I guess?
Yeah. Well, I guess I'm a prairie boy now. And so we live out in the prairie, and then, of course, we built that new building out on 82 between Columbus and Starkville, the big greenhouse, as I call it.
Thanks for taking the long ride downtown and not forgetting the city of Columbus.
Yeah, no.
Well, I like to go into the origin story of how you got into business as a business owner, how you learned to work, all that sort of stuff. So if you kind of want to tell me from baby 7-foot-tall Scott to current day 7-foot-tall.
Yeah,
Scott.
I mean, I think my origin story is a little bit different than a lot of folks, especially the folks that are in my industry. Of course, I grew up around financial planning, investment advice. My mom started Financial Concepts way back in 1988. So I was born in 86. So I've been in this my entire life. I remember hearing investments, mutual funds, all that kind of stuff at the dinner table. But it was never something that really interested me, at least not through my teenage years. And so I went off to school, went to the University of Alabama. I always like to tell the story. I had a really, really good time at the University of Alabama. You could have a lot of fun, especially going from a small school where I had 37, 38 kids in my graduating class to thousands of kids. Yeah. I had a really, really good time. And with that came my oldest son, my 18-year-old, Bentley, came my sophomore year in college. And that meant I had to figure life out really, really quick. And so I could either get a job and figure out how I was going to take care of him, or I guess I could have walked away and said, not my problem, right? That's not me. So I came home. My parents said, you know what? You've got an opportunity here inside the business, but you're going to start at the bottom. And that's what I did. In data entry in a tiny little cubicle, if you could call it that, in the kitchen of our old office building on 2nd Avenue, literally on the countertop, basically, in the kitchen doing data entry. But from there, I worked my way up through the business over the years. I'm very proud to say that I purchased the business from my family back in 2020. And it's been something that I didn't necessarily see myself doing. But as I got into the business, I learned to love it. I learned how much fun and exciting it is to be able to help people. And that's what I get to do all day long, every single day, is I can help people figure out where they are and where they want to be, and we can put them on that plan financially to get from point A to point B. And there's joy in that. There's happiness in that, being able to help folks do that. And it's a passion of mine now. Never thought it would be, but it's something I love dearly now.
So other than sweeping floors and doing codex and filing stuff at your mom's office, do you have any other jobs when you were a kid?
Yeah, unfortunately, no. I was, I guess, that spoiled brat who went to high school. I did things around the office. I can tell you this: I stuffed letters, and in our office, I tell folks now, we still keep the post office in business. Yeah. We mail a good bit, and that was my job as a kid, was making sure those letters were stuffed and stamped. And I got the paper cuts, the scars on my fingers to show proof of those envelopes from back in the day.
Well, that's part of a different pressure I think people overlook when you're talking about a family business, where they're just like, and there are some people who just stroll into some super easy family business and either run into the ground or keep it up with a degree of a modicum of success. But was your mother especially tougher on you, or tough on you, picking on you, teaching you stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. And I wouldn't want it any other way, right? It wasn't, the silver spoon and it's here you go, take it and have it. It was literally, you're going to learn from the ground up. You're going to do every position, whether it's data entry, whether it's client relationships, whether it's putting the plans together, whether it's doing the paperwork, the stuff that, sometimes is not that much fun to do. All that kind of stuff was the stuff that she put me through over the years to where I could get to where I am today. And knowing every facet of the business, I think, has been critical, because I know the ins and the outs. The data entry side, sure, it's changed over the past 20 years, but I still understand why we do it, how we do it, and the reasons. And that's a big part of being a leader. If you can understand all the facets of the business, I think you can be in a much better place.
Well, and it's safe to say, too, that I mean, half of financial advisors with a portfolio your size in a big city would have gone to 4 years of college and then grad school. So you're learning your school time was the 10 years working for your mother, I would
Absolutely,
guess. So,
school of hard knocks, so to speak. I think it's very unique that I don't have that degree. Early in my career, I was honestly I was a little ashamed of that I didn't have it. Some folks would look down on that, but now, I mean, I've got boots on the ground experience. I've lived this, I've done that, and I think I can really relate with a lot of folks that are here in this community. That I'm just that typical guy, right? I went to school, I had a good time, I had a little one at a very early age, and I had to figure life out. And I know I'm not the only one that had to go through that and do that, so I can relate to a lot of folks in that sense.
yeah, well, you're also in an industry that's constantly changing. Regulations are changing. People's perception of it are changing, or think it's easier, think it's harder.
That's right.
Insurance is very similar too, where it'll 3 or 4 years of good times, and then it's just absolute chaos. And can you speak to the chaos in the recent years with stock market? That you and I have talked privately about. The president used to have a huge influence over the Fed, and maybe not so much now.
Yeah.
And then the stock market, I remember, let's go back to like 1992. George Bush didn't like broccoli. The stock market took a hit because at a speech he said he didn't like broccoli. And we fast forward to now where I think some of it's gotten a little numb to the rhetoric that's out there, but then the practical part of invading Greenland or putting tariffs on China or something.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly been a wild ride the past 6 months, the past 5 years, the past 10 years. I mean, I think you can always say there's been those uncertainties. I always tell folks the only certainty in life is uncertainty, and we've had that. But right now the Fed has very little influence coming from the Oval Office, right? And that's clear. And our president has made that very clear that he would like some influence. And so that has changed with as far as how monetary policy works, things like that over the years. But our president now, you've seen more of when the president speaks, you can get some swings in the market one way or the other, right? And so there's more influence there than I would have said you would have had in the years past. But I always tell folks, when you're investing, when you own stocks, you own businesses, you don't own the government. You own pieces of companies. And so you want to invest in companies that are going to find a way to be successful under whatever administration you've got, whatever the world looks like. Good businesses will do that, right? That doesn't mean they're not going to hit a speed bump. Doesn't mean they're not going to have a rough year from time to time. But good, successful businesses over time will find a way through whatever event they're going through.
So let's talk a little bit about the practicality of running a business. So let's say day one, I assume you're, as far as I was aware, you were kind of running Financial Concepts before you bought it, but let's say you're running it. How many employees have you had to hire and go through and train in that process? Because you definitely have more than you even had 3 years ago. So.
Oh, I mean, absolutely. So, I've been in a leadership role in the business going back to 2014, 2015, somewhere in that range. So for a very, very long time. I bought the first piece of the business in 2018. I bought the second half in 2020. So the ownership's been there for a little while. But we've certainly grown, and we've been very blessed. We've been very fortunate. If you do good for others, good will come back to you. I firmly believe that. And that is, what our business is built on, is doing good for other people, taking care of them. Sometimes it's just simply answering the phone and talking, which is kind of crazy to think that, it's hard to find that these days, but it is, because folks won't answer their phone. They won't return your call. We're there for those kind of things. But we've grown pretty substantially since 2020. Back in 2020, we had roughly 7 employees. We're knocking at 16 today, including myself, which is pretty incredible. It's also kind of scary sometimes because from a business owner standpoint, I've gone from, my family and 7 other folks that we were taking care of or putting food on the table for with income and paychecks to now that's doubled. So that's how many more families, how many more children is the income from our office putting food on the table for. So there's a lot of pressure that comes with that. We talked about taking over the family business. Yeah. Not only is there that legacy and pressure of that, of wanting to continue. My mom started something great, built something great. I want to make it better. But now I got all these other folks that work for me. The pressure that comes with that too.
Well, like we ran into each other with you supporting various charity events. And honestly, I had, just for the record, I had to pressure you into putting your logo on events. You were one of the people that I said was writing a lot of big, quiet checks to stuff. And I know that was part of your thing. We're going to get to the Rowdy Foundation in a minute, but like if I had 3 core principles that I see from a distance for your business is communication, answering the phone, the supporting the community. Like I say, I like to write a whole bunch of $250 checks to soccer teams and those sort of things. And you're on that tier and higher. And then number three, the letter writing, which I've seen even more of. I used to write, y'all were writing me nice letters before I was a client. And that was the single reason, that and being able to call and answer the phone and go, hey, I've got a dumb question, which I have a lot of. So can you speak to where the letter writing came and the community support stuff sort of came from?
Yeah, I mean, so my mom has been a letter writer forever. I think she's one of the greatest writers I've ever seen. And so I got big shoes to fill there. I'm pretty proud of, how far I've come in that writing process. I've fallen in love with it. I like to write. It's a great way to express your thoughts, express, feelings about what's going on and be able to relate to folks, right? So if you can write clearly, I was trying to write, at an 8th grade reading level, and that's not trying to write doctoral level, that high. I want something that you can just easily sit down and read and go through and say, man, that hits home. I get that kind of thing. The community support, again, that just goes back to being a good person. It's no more than that. I want to be a good person to this community that's been so much to me. It's given me and my family a lot, and I want to return that. I think my mom felt the same way. So giving back, if you've got a community that supports you, why wouldn't you want to support that community?
I've found it to be one of the most effective forms of advertising. I've heard the quote where you say, give it out in slices, it comes back in loaves. But it's like picking that perfect gift at Christmas for somebody. Like, even if nobody else knows about it, you're like, cool, I was part of that thing that helped that person when they had a house fire or a medical emergency or something like that. And back to the letters, do you have a team of people? Like, I'll text my wife sometimes and it'll just say Ryan Munson. And like I get home and she's like, Ryan Munson. And that, I know, like for me, I'll send a video and be like, hey man, you've touched my life. I appreciate you. We'll write him a letter. Do you have a team of people doing that? Do you just have to remind yourself every time? I know, I'm sure you have systems for birthdays.
Oh yeah, no, I can't take the credit for all of that. I've got an outstanding team. I mean, back to the 15 folks, I've got a dedicated group of folks that I can just shoot a quick message to and say, hey, this, and this. And we're going to make sure that we send you something that's going to, maybe it's a birthday, maybe it's an anniversary, maybe you're going on a trip.
Yeah.
All those kind of life moments, it's something to be recognized, especially if it's a big trip or a big birthday, big anniversary. I mean, you got to celebrate that, right? Because it wasn't always easy to get there, right? I mean, you've certainly had curveballs in your life. I've had curveballs in my life. When we get to those big moments that are worth celebrating, I want to celebrate it with you. So if I can jot you a quick little note and say, hey, I'm thinking about you, I want to celebrate this moment for you, to me, that's a big deal.
Yeah, well, that's where our whole Good for Business thing started, was that I remember I kept seeing at my time in the newspaper business where like people get a promotion at a job or change jobs. And when I say, even with the peak of Facebook, nobody cared. And and then I would post like, so-and-so just his first day at Steel Dynamics, and people like hundreds of likes and hundreds of things. Like, people that was a thing 20, 30 years ago, to get flowers when you got a new job. And it just doesn't happen as much anymore. And I think that when you do that purposeful recognition, it helps.
Well, we're people, right? And we're humans. We relate to each other, and we've got emotions, we've got feelings. And in those moments, if we can celebrate those big things, it not only makes us feel good to know that we celebrated somebody else, but think about what we're doing for them to know, hey, Scott thought about me today on my first day at my new gig, or Colin shared and 100 likes came back. Like, as you said, you would have gotten flowers on your first day, or you would have gotten calls. Nowadays, you don't. It's just little bitty things like that make a huge impact in somebody's life. It took no time from you. It costs nothing. But the impact that you can get back from that, you can't quantify it.
Well, and sometimes I'll have, and I mean friends, I'm not talking the public, criticize me like, you're always Mr. Positive. I was like, do you know what it takes to wake up and do that every day? You have to think about it.
It's a mentality.
But the good part about it is, like I said, it attracts people. People want it. It's real lazy and easy to be negative. It's just easy to sit there and throw darts at people.
We're keyboard warriors today.
Yeah. It's and those are the people. Like, if you ever ask me if I don't block people on Facebook, but if I unfriend them, it's because like, once I see you 10 times in a row going, this is horrible, like, everything sucks. I'm like, okay, everything sucks. Just go off in the corner. And I think of the value of social media and podcasts and all this other stuff that. So for 6 years in the early 2000s, I had a restaurant in New Orleans. If we wanted business, if I could have gotten 8 people to share my menu with their neighbor, I would have flipped out. And now every single day you can have hundreds and hundreds of people for literally no money and very little effort. At least be aware. Like, I became friends with Doug at Zachary's, which led to all the fundraising we do, because I went in there one day and I said, you are absolutely killing me posting a picture of the daily special every day at 10 a.m. in our office. And every girl in our office would be like, oh, that looks great. I'm like, what? And they're like, oh, Zachary's. And I had to go there to tell them that. And they call it the reticular activator. You're shopping for you're looking for a Honda Accord, so you start seeing white Honda Accords everywhere.
Yep.
And if you're looking for positive things, or like you're saying, if your whole team is built up looking for ways to cheer other people on or cherish them or make them feel good, then they're going to find a million different ways to do that.
Absolutely.
And they're looking for it. And then hopefully, they're also looking for the financial side of it too. Like, you treat your people, say, hey, if you're at lunch and you hear somebody say the stock market's really bad, your ears should perk up.
Absolutely. And that's, I've got a fantastic team, and I'm so incredibly proud of the team that we built, because it truly is a group of folks who love coming to work each and every day and helping others. But we're trained to listen for all those things, and we encourage each other to listen for those things. So if someone has got something negative, maybe they're worried about the market, maybe they're fearful, in a call, well, we're going to take that information and we're going to say, well, hey, do I need to reach out to them? Do we need to send them something just to give them that reassurance? But as you said, when you're out in the public, if you hear something, you see something, I'm constantly jotting those little things down, sending them to my team saying, hey, I heard so-and-so is going to do this. It's out of sight, out of mind for me, but I know I've got a team back there that's going to take care of it and make sure that we recognize that in one way or another.
Well, we are sitting in Mississippi's only Web 3.0 studio, or soon to be Catfish Alley. And it's a perfect example of, we're talking at Peppers last week, we're at Peppers last week for the charity event. And I said, hey, I'm doing this podcast. By the way, he's got this whole place production ready to go. And you're like, that's something I might be looking for.
For sure.
And it's because it's top of mind, because it's something you're thinking about. And I'm seeing more opportunities for that, like for this show, where I'm like, oh, I just ran into somebody at, Ladrico Isaac, who runs Yo Bar. And then I looked him up on Facebook, and we've met a couple times. The guy's got like 20,000 followers. Like, he's making an income off of Facebook. And I've met him a couple times, but you don't know. And then I see this other stuff that same thing quietly he's doing for the community. And I'm like, this is the kind of guy I want to have on the show. By the way, I got a list of about 100 people I want to get on the show. So I kind of got to get.
Well, I feel honored to know that I'm one of the first few in here. That's pretty crazy.
I'm just glad there's no stage fright. Well, you're pretty well polished. I'll get into that too, because I've been following you for a while, and I noticed, I guess it was probably during COVID or after, when I noticed I forgot when the first green billboard went up. And I actually called you or texted you and said, like, I like that, because from a professional marketing background, green is not a standard color. Like, it's on a. It
sticks out.
You're not supposed to do it. And I think you did that with, is it Karen Stanley? Is that correct?
Neon Frog. Absolutely.
Yeah, Neon Frog. Yeah, and I just thought, like, this is great, and it's simple and to the point, and here's what we do, here's it is, and I still admire it, but I like that kind of marketing.
I'm bold. We joked earlier, what you see is what you get with me. This is who I am, right? In these kind of shirts, jeans, that's me. But I want to be, bold. I want to stand out. I don't want to just be cookie cutter, fit the crowd. Yeah. You joked earlier about, hey, I'm Scott Ferguson. I love giraffes. Giraffes is in our logo, right? So, everything about us is a very unique thing. But I think that's what differentiates us, because there's lots of folks that play in my space, and there's lots of good folks who play in my space, but we are uniquely ourselves. And I think that is something that is really, really key to who we are and the growth that we've seen.
That is probably the biggest question the public has, is how long till there's a paddock behind your building with a giraffe in it?
And listen, I've joked with my wife many times about getting a giraffe back there. So who knows? It could happen.
I'll talk to my wildlife guy and see if
if he can hook me up.
Make that happen. If I just leave it there one day, roped up in front, we'll be okay.
Yeah, just let me know. Send me a text. I'll be there. I'm 5 minutes away at the house, so I can be there real quick.
Win-win. Yeah, that's my problem. That's the feature I like a lot about Columbus, other than the people, is that I'm 5 minutes from everything. So, like, I'm home, I'm at work, I can stop here, I can do this. The longest drive, and I'll have other people in town go, I can't believe you go to Starkville 3 times in one day. And I'm like, I grew up in New Orleans. My wife's from New York.
It's 20 minutes.
It's 20 minutes. I'm on the East Bank. I'm on the West Bank. And I'll go over there, and I'm like, this is nothing. My wife and I will go to dinner in Tuscaloosa, and just people's minds are just like, but growing up in New Orleans, like, there's Winn-Dixie. It takes 20 minutes to get there. And we love that part of it. I love complaining about catching the light at Kroger just one
having
time.
To wait, 30 seconds.
And then I also like I'm going to do some tours for Air Force people this weekend, that it's not that small of a town. Like, we're not the middle of nowhere. And Columbus and Starkville are thriving, despite most of the rest of the state is kind of hurting right now.
There's a lot to do in this community.
Yeah.
There's a lot. And you've done a great job of getting that out there and promoting that with Good for Business, with what you do, your Facebook page, all that kind of stuff. So I want to give you a plug for a second. You really do let me know what's going on. And I can go to Colin's page. If I'm looking for something to do with the kids this weekend, I know where to go.
Colin's thank you. And look, man, when we've over and over decided to live here, I've had many opportunities to leave, and we were just like, man, we cool old house, centrally located in the southeast. We like the people. It's a river town. They're a little wacky, and we
But
love
you
that.
chose to come here, and that's the thing. I mean,
Yeah,
like I've been here, right? And of
yeah,
course, I could have left, but I was born and raised here. You made the choice to live here, which I think is cool.
yeah.
And sometimes we get a bad rap around here about being little bitty small town. My wife will tell you we don't have a Target. That's her biggest issue. But it's a pretty cool place to live, and you've made that choice,
Your
and you could say that.
your wife may be the same. She does. My wife does a phenomenal job of shopping at Target that we don't have.
Absolutely. The
It's hard-
Target boxes just magically
Yeah, they
appear.
just so I think they're okay. And once the virtual goggles catch on, I think we're going to be okay with that. We touched on the Rowdy Foundation a little. Tell me the story behind it. Most people don't know. We talked at the beginning, like you had the Rowdy Foundation, and I saw billboards, and we were working on charity events for a year and a half before I connected the dots. Like, oh, like Scott is doing Rowdy. So
Okay, you called me out earlier. Sometimes I am pretty bad about letting folks know what I'm behind, right? And so I'm not the one that wants my logo on everything and all that kind of stuff. And the Rowdy Foundation was probably the same way in the beginning. Now we're pretty proud of it. We put our faces with it. We're out there. Rowdy Foundation started back in 2020. So our son Myers, my middle son, who was 9, he was diagnosed as being on the autistic spectrum he was born in 2015, so that would have been end of 2017. He got his diagnosis, and that rocked our world. Neither one of us had special needs children in our families. We didn't grow up around it. We were really just totally oblivious to the world, right? And so we have this special needs child. We're trying to figure out services. What can we do? How can we help him? How can we give him the best quality of life possible? Well, we were amazed to find the amount of services that are here in the Golden Triangle. But again, if you don't know, you don't know. And we didn't know that it was here. So we were incredibly blessed. We got him in some great places. TK Martin Center over in Starkville, fantastic. Can't say enough good things. The Golden Triangle Autism Center in West Point, Mississippi. We have the Golden Triangle Autism Center, and it is a fantastic facility. They just got a brand new space. He spent many years going there getting ABA therapy. So we did all this. We did all these services, and we could see the improvement, the quality of life that was getting better and better for Myers. He didn't speak until he was almost 5 years old. Now, if you talk to that kid, he does not shut up. Sometimes, it's like you got to be careful what you pray for, because sometimes it's like, man, give me a break, kid. But, he's making up for lost time is what we always joke and say. But we saw this quality of life improvement in him. And so we said, what can we do to give back to this community? Because, again, this community poured into our kid. And, we're blessed. We're fortunate. We've got a business. We've got resources. We've got ways that we can give back. And we said, well, we want to start a foundation. We want to do something to support not only children on the autism spectrum, and that's really what it started. Was originally it was an autism-focused foundation. We've expanded now. We want to cover special needs. That's really, who we want to take care of. And so we started the Rowdy Foundation back in 2020. A great time to start something. We started in February. The pandemic rolls around in March. Perfect timing. But our first thing, and many of you folks may remember this, was the Easter Bunny that rode around the back of the pickup truck.
yeah.
That was something that my wife put together, because you couldn't go to the mall and see the Easter Bunny. You couldn't go to the traditional places. But that sensory, I guess it wasn't sensory friendly, but that COVID friendly experience of the Easter Bunny coming to your driveway was the first thing that we did. We raise money. We support these organizations. We do events. We just want to make sure that this special needs community knows that there's resources. They know that they're loved. They know that they've got support. Know that they've got places they can go to. Inclusive events. It's not just special needs kids that come to our events. It's everybody, and we like that inclusion. We do the Rowdy races down at the soccer park. One of my favorite events. You get 400 kids that are running wild. A lot of them are your typical traditional developing children. Then you've got your special needs kids, but they're all there together, and no one is noticing the differences. They're all doing that obstacle course together. Yeah. How cool is that?
Well, especially living we are in rural Mississippi. We forget that a lot.
Yeah.
Like, I tell people all the time, like, how do you describe the area? I said, when you factor in the whole Golden Triangle and scooting over to Tuscaloosa, but I said mainly in the Golden Triangle, Red Lobster, Sam's Club, not coming. They're just not.
That's right.
There's probably an Aldi coming to Columbus pretty soon, but I was like, south, like, it's just not going to happen. Trader Joe's is not going to come to the
Target, probably not coming.
14th largest SEC school area. They're just not. But of course, the world's gotten smaller with shipping and all these other things.
Right.
But that's also part of the challenge of marketing. People don't realize that we have community counseling here, and we have all the services you talked about. Y'all have become part of the marketing arm for these things. We talked before the podcast started about, okay, how do you get kids involved from the high schools here into the industrial sector? And the link will be like, well, we created all this stuff. Y'all do it. And EMCC has community university. And they're like, we have the community university. Well, y'all have the tech school. And the tech school is this. And then that forced, in the greater scheme of the world, brilliant people to come up with Forge. You know, that
Absolutely.
said they from the ether, just like you did with Rowdy, they're like, here's a need. We're going to have to fill that space because
sure.
we're not. If you're in Atlanta or New Orleans, there's some organization that'll like the United Way that'll just pick up this thing and do it, and they just can't. You know, and we're so proud that we have a marketing person, Renee Sanders, United Way, running there
Yep.
because she's going to take over the whole state eventually. You know,
Seems like it. She's on her way.
from one little county, but she knows how to say, there's 30 service organizations we represent. Here's how to get use out of
That's
them.
right.
And that's a wonderful thing y'all have done, is taken this sort of abstract need of like, hey, we need to know, who do we call, where to go. Like I get calls for a lot of stuff that's not real estate. That's what entices me or gets me excited the most. Is because they're like, hey, there's a pothole on this street. I'm like,
Well, you and I joked about that last week. Is anytime I've got something like, oddball question, I'm just going to text Colin and be like, who do I talk to? Colin probably knows.
yeah, and because I've asked myself, or I see somebody complain, and I was like, I want to make sure the right person gets blamed or the right person has a chance to fix it. Because as I said at the inauguration thing the other day, like the people who are elected, I mean, 99% of them really, especially the local level, want everything to be great and everything to work right.
Because their kids are here, their families are
here. The guys
here.
on public works don't like getting yelled at. We have, I mean, proportionally, we're in like the 95th percentile in Columbus and in Starkville on roads per person. Like literally, like each person has a mile of road, and so like they don't see every single thing. Like you're in the county, you have less roads, you'll notice a pothole, but like they can't possibly street sweep every road in Columbus. They just can't. And the same in Starkville. I mean, it's just so many roads for the population of people. They don't know until you tell them. So a lot of people start with the complaint as opposed to starting. And the city, to their credit or to their disdain or whatever, tried to do like an app, and the app's still there, but it just wasn't. We're not a big enough area that we probably need it, where you could just text your councilman and be like I apologize to Gary Jefferson, who's our new councilman in Ward 5 at the inauguration. I said, I got your cell phone number. You're in trouble now, because like I see something. I'm like, I used to text Stephen Jones. I'm like, hold just the address, and like I'm sure he's like, dear Lord, another one, you know. But the people, they want to fix this stuff.
That's right.
They do not want it bad, and you know, just like the autism and stuff. People, I connected with Doug at Zachary's and Callie, and they were doing fundraisers for the American Heart Walk, and people weren't showing up. And I'm like, why are you doing the fundraiser? And like, well, my kid's on the spectrum, or my kid's got a heart disorder. I was like, if you push that in the way y'all push Rowdy, then it's going to touch somebody's heart and get them a little more motivated to help. Right. So, how's the new office going out there?
We're loving it, man. We are absolutely loving it. It's and a lot of folks don't know this, so we're known for the little greenhouse on 2nd Avenue.
Yeah.
But there are actually 4 houses on 2nd Avenue that I had folks in, because you can't fit 7 or 8, 9, 10 people in that little greenhouse on 2nd Avenue. It just does not work. Yeah. And so we had multiple different spaces and houses all on that street, but it just didn't create any kind of collaborative workspace. On a rainy day, no one wanted to come over and see me. Cold day, nobody wanted to come and see me, right? So now we're in a space where we can all work together. It's built around what we do, the people that we serve. I am so excited about this space, and I can't wait to see what it's going to do for us, not only this year, next year, 5, 10 years down the road. We're very, very excited about what we're doing.
I think it's interesting being near the industrial complex, too, where you've got $10 billion worth of buildings being built. And I saw some, in case y'all didn't know, several couple out of country private jets landed last week at the airport.
I did not see that.
Yeah, and I saw some unmarked black cars driving back and forth to the old Link office. So, you know, there's people looking at the new Cinco mega site, and that happens a lot. And they'll sometimes get really, really close and not do anything. But this early on to have people looking at it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, no, and I think our location certainly. I mean, I'd be lying to you if I didn't tell you that, you know, certainly all those folks that work out there were close to that. That certainly helps. But our location is also essentially located to Starkville, West Point. It's a whole lot easier for folks to get there. And we're only 5 minutes from Columbus. So you made the joke of thanks for coming and seeing me. Don't forget about Columbus kind of thing. It's not far, you know, 5 minutes and we're here. We eat lunch in town every day. We're still doing all the things that we used to do when we were in downtown Columbus. We're just a little bit further out.
Yeah, well, with the industrial complex and stuff, I know you were part of the first Forge construction summit that they had last year.
Yep.
And that's an opportunity for all businesses to get involved with what's going out there. I can't tell you how many times I've talked to not just residents, but small business owners. And I'm like, have y'all just driven out there to see I mean, like you get someone next to the building and they kind of gray out because they're too big for your little 8 brain to.
Look, I had 15 minutes yesterday when I was coming back from Starkville, and I took that airport exit. Instead of taking that left to go towards my office, I took the right. I wanted to go see Joe's new space at the Link.
Yeah.
And I wanted to go see what that aluminum mill looks like. And I've driven by it from when they started till now. It's mind blowing how big that building is. I mean, it's the biggest building I think I've ever seen in my life. And it's right here in the Golden Triangle.
Yeah, and they're, I think their biggest challenge right now is because of the shift work where the people are working 4 days on, 3 days off. It's about a third of the people are living in the Golden Triangle. Now, on the upside, they're all driving through. They're all spending cash here. They're all doing that especially with the aluminum mill, as they switch over from construction to full-time operations. I think over the next 100 days, it's going to be a more impressive thing. Like right now, gas stations and bars and restaurants have just been killing it from that. And we'll start to see the transition. The gas stations will still kill it, like the Love's truck stops.
Oh,
the guys that run it, they just love it. And then once the routes get settled, but I think they're going to have 100, just for their energy needs, is 100 trucks of like pine tree logs coming in every day just to create the energy that they're using. And of course, now somebody else built a solar farm out there and stuff. I think the number's getting close to $15 billion worth of stuff. So
yeah, it's pretty incredible.
It's a big reason. Joe Max Higgins and that whole Link operation is a big reason we chose to stay in town, because even though some former councilmen might disagree, like I've sold 30 houses to Steel Dynamics employees, and I have no connection with that's not a HR person sending me business. That's just, they like to live downtown. They're single guys making 80, 90 grand a year, and they just see a house here and they're like, this is really, really cheap.
But what's exciting to me is you talk about the investment that we've had. The Columbus that I knew growing up is not the same Columbus anymore, right?
Yeah.
It's an improved Columbus. We have all this opportunity, all this industry. Because when you graduated high school back in the early 2000s, there wasn't that much opportunity.
Yeah.
You had IP, warehouser, that was it, if you wanted to go work in that type setting. Well, now you've got all of this opportunity. Not only the opportunity to have employment, but the income level that these places provide. As you said, it's incredible.
80, 90, 100 grand a year, which is just, and we're in the sticks. That's incredible. And PACCAR does a better job intentionally recruiting from our area. I think 70% of their employees are in the Golden Triangle, and of that 70%, I think it's 67% are African American females. Like they are looking in our community, going, this is the talent we want.
For sure,
nurturing instincts, whatever, and they train them up at EMCC in a year. And so I've spoken at Columbus High and some other high schools for a career day, and I'm like, first of all, I don't think anybody should be a realtor when they're 18. I was like, just you have to have a skill set and stuff. But do you know that y'all can go to EMCC for a year and walk straight into a job like this? And I'm telling you, like, the teachers don't know. And I've had that discussion with people.
You can walk into a job where you're probably making more money, or at least as much money as the teacher's making at 18 years old.
Yeah. It's hard to say. I think one of the teachers was trying to get a number for it, but yeah,
that's a conversation for another day.
Yeah,
teachers need to be paid more, but my goodness.
That's a whole nother discussion. Yeah, that's I was just talking to somebody this morning, and they were like, my friend Stephen Jones is the new mayor, and he's like, what's he going to do about these firefighters? I'm like, you live in the county. And he's like, so what? I have a vested interest in me. These are good people. I'm like, you don't pay your firefighters.
That's right.
I was like, if you're going to get outraged, like, let's be consistent. Like, let's start paying them and see what happens. And that's one of the things. Like, it's still Mississippi.
That's right.
And our outward, no matter how much we have said the grades have gone up in the schools, like coming from the outside, like the way people perceive us, like I do a lot of tours for factories and stuff where people are coming. Like, I'm not trying to talk them into buying a house. This is only, you're not in the middle of nowhere. Things are going to be okay. I think our census numbers in the next census, especially in Columbus, will show a huge increase in transplants, which helps all kind of stuff. It helps the arts especially. But it helps with events. And, we've got the Thornhills over in Starkville now who started the Dachshund Derby, or now he just mentioned today, like, he's like, oh, we're going to take over because there was no Bulldog Bash. He goes, we're going to get a big country star here and do it. Because it was just something much like the Rowdy Foundation or some of the events we've done where, like, or the Forge, there's this thing that needs to be fixed. Can we do it rather than complaining that the government's not doing it?
For sure. And I guess that's me. That's my wife, is if we see a need, we're going to find a way to fix it, right? Or at least do our part to fix it. Not that we're perfect, not that we can fix everything, but we want to be a part of positive change. We want to be a part of making this place better.
Yeah.
It's blessed us.
We're staying.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what excites me about this podcast is you're going to be able to get out there and show more folks what's going on right here.
Yeah.
I mean, little bitty Columbus, Mississippi has $15 billion of industrial development in the past 20 years. It's mind-blowing.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think people understand how much $1 billion is. That is a lot.
Well, here's the best
money.
example I have of people. Red Lobster's the thing that people complain about. So, and even though the company Nationwide got bought out by private equity, they ran into the ground to clear out the money. And now they're trying to run it again like a restaurant. It'll be fine. And there's one exactly 41 minutes away in Northport, Tuscaloosa, Alabama, if you need Red Lobster and Olive Garden fixed. So, you know, when they expanded at the steel mill, so just SDI on an average year spends $100 million just upgrading their facilities. They spent $340 million on a paint roll-off thing. And I explained to some people, I'm like, that is 160 Red Lobsters. And you don't see it. And it's not 160 of their employees, but in practical terms, every $80,000 job creates one service industry job. Every single one. So if they are hiring 1,000 people at the aluminum mill, is the number. It's probably going to be higher than that because they've spent $2.5 billion fixing it. Not to mention everything you're seeing on the service road, not just you, but all these secondary, and my favorite word I learned in college, tertiary businesses, a third level of businesses.
You went further into college than I did. Learning that word.
Very exciting. 4 years LSU still wants their money. But again, there's another thing. I haven't had anybody, we brought up today, nobody asked me if I've had a degree in a long, like 20 years. They just don't, because I don't need to prove it. Somebody asked me about like, oh, would you ever apply for the Visit Columbus job? I'm like, it's not a bad job. It's less money than I can make. I'd love to help the community. But I said, part of their requirements is having a bachelor's degree in marketing. And I'm like, you know, if we tweak that, I could do it. Back to the factories, like they're spending that amount of money and we don't even have a concept of it.
That's right.
I'm trying to do some videos and talk to them out there, but it's almost too big to conceive that it's there. And we have a hive mind in Columbus sometimes about just bashing on ourselves. And that happens everywhere.
It does happen everywhere.
If you're on Starkville Facebook, go for a ride. Like everybody outside of Starkville and some people are like, everything's great, everything's great, everything great. There's the same 6 people commenting on every single thing that happens there about how horrible it is. They narrowly avoided a multi-million-dollar sort of scandal. They're doing the road improvement on 82, and they opened up a driveway for a guy who lived on the business thing. Well, that's against the language in the grant. And kudos to Lynn Sproul for getting through that and vetoing. But like, it may have been a problem, but it was something they had to go stop because we might lose millions in funding. It happens everywhere. And during COVID, I could tell you, my friends in Atlanta and New Orleans, I was like, everybody who lives in New Orleans, like, it's going to hell. It's the most dangerous place ever. And then everybody here is like, New Orleans is great.
Let's go.
And my realtor friends in Orange Beach are the same way. Everybody's like, it's perfect. And he's like, we have these 4 or 5 multi-million-dollar lawsuits about beach access and all these other things. Like, there's challenges everywhere. And when bad things happen, so like nationwide real estate market slows down, I like to tell people, I'm like, it took us 10 years to get a Starbucks. Like, we're gonna be okay. You know, when it's going crazy, it's not as crazy.
But it goes back to what we talked about at the beginning. You can choose to be negative, or you can choose to be positive.
Yeah.
And we've got that choice. We've got that opportunity. You can choose to make an impact. You can choose to make a difference, or you can choose not to. And that's okay if you don't want to.
Yeah.
But I'm going to make that choice to make an impact, to make improvement, to give back. You're going to make that choice. And I think the vast majority of folks here want to see this place be better. And most of us know that it's really, not a bad place, right? It's a good place to raise a family. We made the choice to raise our family here. We had a choice not to, right? So we made that choice to do that. And that excites me. It just excites me about what we're doing here in Columbus, the improvements that we've got. I'm excited to see where things go.
Well, I've talked to now the incoming mayor and talked to the police chief a couple of times about it. And I've been on the police oversight board here and a whole bunch of other communities and boards. We have the 13th largest city in Mississippi, pretty consistent. Our population's not going up or down. But without college towns, and with the exception of very few places, 80% of the cities the same size as us 10 years ago have shrunk by 8%.
Wow.
People are leaving small cities. Rural hospitals closing
for sure.
is a huge issue.
And we've got a fantastic
and we've got
hospital.
Baptist, and they are almost closed the deal on the hospital in Oxford, which means like we're going to be in excellent shape for that, which helps because 25% of Mississippi lives below the poverty line. I think it's 26% of people work directly or secondarily for the government, like federal, local, or state government. So that's a lot of people who are dependent on everything working right, like the system working right, because the system could crash quickly here, in some national sort of emergency. But so if we're the 13th largest city, pretty much it bounces up and down depending on if Corinth is having a good week or a bad week. But like on the Polycom rankings of government efficiency, which I mean, this is not government efficiency, but like our total economy. And this includes, by the way, we take Noxubee into that, which is one of the poorest counties in the state, just in a bad space. Now they have a new factory just opened up there, so maybe they're doing better. So we're in there. We're hovering. We've been as high as 13th on the list of the top 500. It's
little
metropolitan area,
yeah.
micropolitan.
Yep,
There's
yep.
the word for it. So in that list, we've been as high as like 9 and 11. Right now, we've been bouncing forth in the 80s or 90s. Starkville's in the 200s. West Point's in the 400s. Yet we have this mindset. I think a couple politicians kept saying, like, we're getting passed up by West Point and Starkville. I'm like, well, West Point's doing better, and Starkville's doing fine, but Starkville's very dependent on the government too.
Yep.
And there isn't anything. We got to stop comparing ourselves to Starkville. Like, we're not.
Yeah.
They have
They're
a
Starkville, we're Columbus.
$1 billion government project going on there constantly. Nothing wrong with it. It's
Yep.
great, but like, we're not the same thing.
right.
And we don't even compare ourselves to anybody. And maybe you could say Natchez, but we're doing better than Natchez. People aren't staying here as long to look at an old house, but it's cool. But in that regard, we have the third biggest TV station in the state. We have the third biggest daily paper in the state, and we have the largest weekly paper in the state that focuses on crime and politics. See, we wake up every day, or if you're reading the news at all, looking at a lot of times the worst you have to offer. But to their credit, like the Packet has a whole section of good news, the B section that I started when I was there. The Dispatch, vast majority of sports and local is good news.
That's right.
And if we didn't have the Dispatch doing the investigative journalism and covering the politics, then WCBI doesn't have the resources to do too much
sure.
either.
Yeah.
So we're blessed in that respect, but everybody hears that this is happening bad in Columbus.
That's
Oktibbeha County / Starkville's had a real rough year with shootings this year. Like, they're way ahead of it.
Well, the other thing, we talked about this at the beginning, is, everybody's got a keyboard now. So you hear a lot more of the negative, right? Or someone can instantly be out there and be like, oh man, I had this horrible experience. I hated this. Yeah. And you can bash somebody real quick. It's real easy. You can get it off your chest. You can move on. But the impact it can have on others, because they're going to read it, they're going to see it, they're going to hold on to that. They're going to remember that about this place, that, and the other. And so again, I think there's some responsibility in us holding back from just going out there and unleashing. If we had a bad experience, maybe we need to address it with the manager, the business owner, those kind of things, instead of just going straight out there.
I think it's my job and obligation to put out the good news, So
absolutely.
I'm in real estate. Ding. But perception is reality. And sometimes it's so negative. I can't tell you how many realtors and politicians and other people I've told in the last 6 months that the city of Columbus was up 10% in real estate prices last year, and Starkville was up 5%, West Point was up 5%, the country was down 3%. And they look at me like, nah. And I'm like, no, it's true. And they're like, including Caledonia. I'm like, no, the city of Columbus. They're like, I don't think so, because their perception of it has been so ruined. But other people, like, the good example for me is the Brislins who live downtown. They're like me. Everything's sunny and there's been one home invasion down in the core part of downtown in the last 8 years. Like, there's nothing. Like, there's just, you can't leave a bike in your front yard, but you can't do that in New Orleans or any. And if I always say, if you want to target in Red Lobster, that means you have a city of 200,000 people, and you're going to have more crime.
Well, it goes back to my world on the investing side. The perception is everything, right? The pain of a loss hurts twice as much as the reward felt from a gain. All right, there's proof behind that. There's studies that show that. And so I love to. Franklin Templeton every year puts out a study, and they ask folks, what do you think the market did last year? Up, down, positive, right? And 90% of the time, if the market gave you a positive return, folks are going to say it was a bad year in the market.
I think the second time
it's mind blowing.
I think we talked the other day. We had three dips or crashes in more than 5% in the last year. And you sent me a letter the first time we had some money with you. You sent me a letter, and I'm like, I didn't know until I saw the letter, because I'm not watching the 5 o'clock news. Number one, I'm either working or I'm studying, or it's just such bad news. I don't need to watch. People bash WCBI here, and I have friends at TVA too. But TVA's first 3 minutes of their news is always this is the worst. It's the end of times. Things are over. It's not going to happen. And so when I got that letter, I called you. I'm like, you don't need to send me the letter saying it's down. I'm not taking my money out for 20 years, And I think I also, which I don't know if many clients get to tell you that, but I told you, I'm like, just go absolutely crazy with this. Do whatever you want. And he's
that's not what most folks say.
That is not what most folks say. I was like, take it for a spin, have a good time, because I'm not going to watch it. And I'm one of the people, the Dave Ramsey type things, you're betting on America. And so if America crashes, and you have if America crashes and somehow the stock market's great, your money's not going to help you buy a generator.
That's right.
And if it crashes and it goes down, it's going to be a relative number anyway. And if you believe you need to live in a bunker, go buy yourself a bunker.
For sure.
So
you can find them a piece of property to put a bunker on, I'm sure.
Yeah. This isn't an advertisement, Scott. Come on. Do a little bragging on your oldest son. Now he does. Is it Helix? Am I correct?
Halise shooting.
Sounds
Yeah,
close enough.
yeah. So he is.
Well, close enough doesn't work.
Yeah, well, yes, that's right. Close enough only counts on horseshoes and grenades. When it comes to a shotgun, you can't be close enough. No, he is a fantastic shot. He's a competitive shotgun shooter. He shoots Halise, and let's brag on the community again. Going back to West Point, you've got one of the finest facilities in this entire country. Honestly, we've traveled to Argentina to shoot with my son, and we've seen their facilities. Prairie Wildlife, it's unbelievable what they've got over there. And it is a hidden jewel. It's open to the public. It is a fantastic place to go and check out. That's where we shoot. That's where he practices, all those kind of things. But yeah, he's a competitive shotgun shooter, and he competed on the U.S. team a couple of years ago and for the juniors. And I'm very proud of what he's been able to do. And it's spread to the entire family now. So, right, it's a hobby that we were able to pick up because, we go watch him shoot. Yeah. Well, you kind of like, you're just sitting around. You're like, well, I want to go try. I'm nowhere near as good as he is. I'm not good at all, right? But I have fun. And then we got my wife a shotgun for Christmas. So she goes out there. Now, she's a pretty good shot. Something about that female, she's got that, like if you put that target out there, she's going to break it kind of thing.
Well, don't act up then.
Yeah, I know. I've learned I can't act up because she will get me coming out of the driveway. And then, even our 9-year-old son, now he's got a tiny little, it's a shotgun, yes, but it's a tiny little small shotgun getting started. Just learning a few things, and the 5-year-old says, "When can she get one?" And I'm like, "Not quite yet."
You got to be
baby.
careful. That's how my friends were. I won a shotgun in a raffle over in Starkville that a real estate company did there for one of the benefits there for the lodge over there. And my friend Nathan Wilson, who is now the executive director of the Mississippi Wildlife Federation.
That's what you said, yeah.
Yeah, and I immediately just gave it to him because all of my friends are like, Colin's not hunting,
Yep.
They actually, with Leadership Golden Triangle, whatever that the link has for adults.
Yep.
We went around and we got to go to the sheriff's department, and they were showing us their guns, and I know everybody at the sheriff's department, so they were like, "Hey, y'all want to shoot a gun?" And they're like, "Yeah." And then they're like, "Colin," I'm like, "Oh, I've never shot a gun." And they're just looking at it like, you're from Mississippi. I'm like, well, according to a lot of little old ladies in big white houses, I'm not from here.
Yep.
I've been here 20 years, but I ain't from here. And they let me shoot a fully automatic weapon. So the only time I've shot a gun is a fully automatic. And I'm like, I'm out. Now, Nathan swears he's going to teach me and take me on some turkey hunts and stuff.
Turkey hunts fun. You'd enjoy that. It's a good time.
So I've got it. But yeah, that's one of the most amazing things to me in this area is not just prairie wildlife and the golf course over there in Old Waverly. There's money in these hills. Like there are opportunities to talk to people such as yourself, and that's what I'm trying to get on the podcast, of business owners who are just thriving and not just old school, simple, like, of course there's simple stuff like farming and things, but there's other people who are doing very complicated high-end businesses. The Burns Dirt Development have gone from a small dirt operation to $20-30 million contracts. They got 50 trucks around town. Like they are just moving, and they are like, we're doing virtual meetings with them and appointments, and like they have targeted meetings, targeted marketing. They're helping with Forge. Like they're not doing it sort of like we're talking about here at Catfish Alley. Like we're talking about blockchain and video and all this tech that, the biggest comment I'm getting from people moving to the area is that they are blown away by the sophistication of tech and that stuff that's happening, not just at the industrial park, but at Mississippi State. Like, I think one of the top 20 supercomputers in the world.
Yeah, it's pretty cool what they got over there.
The National Center for Unmanned Aeronautics, and like the Air Force Base is getting involved in that. So it's neat because during COVID, I had 4 or 5 people move here who are still working from home, and some of that's ending. Some of the tech stuff ending, but there's a lot of people who are like, I can buy a house here for. The Imes house got bought for a couple $1 million from a couple that lived in Seattle in a residential neighborhood. Yeah. And their house sold for $3 million, like a little.
Yeah, and they came out here and they bought, a fantastic, beautiful estate.
But it's so great to have people like that because as I talk to my kids about, like, just having conversations, getting in the room with people, you don't realize they know somebody who knows somebody. Like we went up at Ole Miss, my daughter's getting orientation. We met a roommate, and I'm talking to her dad about like pizza ovens and stuff. I'm like, so what do you do now? And he's like, oh, I do engineering machining parts for SpaceX, like for one of their biggest supplier.
You told me about that, yeah.
And I'm like, well, that's what my middle daughter's into. Not that I need a job, but now I have like, oh, how do I get a job, or what should I study? And like you have a direct contact, and we have an amazing network of that here. Where just like I'll run into somebody and find out that they've earned millions from the guy that patented the trolling motors from Columbus. And I think we talked about like foam mattresses. The guy that did foam mattresses, like the original rollout foam mattress, is a dude that lives.
It's pretty incredible. And there's lots of hidden gems like that. There's lots of of folks that you just don't know, quiet folks. And quiet folks that are doing a lot of good things in this community too, right?
Yeah.
So some of those folks don't like to be acknowledged, but they're making moves behind the scenes doing stuff. But it's cool to see all the different things that we've got, right? We've got the big factories, we've got the industrial stuff, but then we've got the stuff like over at Prairie Wildlife. Mr. Jimmy has built a world-class facility for hunting, shooting, that is right here in Columbus, Mississippi, right? That folks from all around the world come here to see. I just think it's exciting, all the opportunity that we've got. There's more opportunity here now than there's ever been before for a young person getting out of school or for somebody moving here to Columbus and Lowndes County. You can't tell me there hasn't been this much opportunity in any other time.
No, that's been great. Like I said, I've been here 20 years, so you can drop a pin. Joe Max Higgins was a couple years before me, and for me to come in here, and they were digging up the soccer complex in the Riverwalk when I got here. The bridge was still rusty. Downtown was probably 60% occupied. It's 100% occupied. Like downtown's full.
That's right.
You know, we have some people who tell me simultaneously, be like, "This place is falling apart. Downtown's crumbling."
That's right.
And they go, "And there's not enough parking." I'm like, well, which one is it? Is there not enough parking?
Well, I mean, look, I'll put it to you like this, and you did not do this. You didn't do this sale, but I had the 4 pieces of property on 2nd Avenue.
Yeah.
I assumed I was going to hold on to those for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
They sold on the private market within a week. So, I mean, it just tells you that folks are interested in being in downtown Columbus. They're interested in doing things, revitalizing things, putting stuff to work, which to me, when I was a kid, that wasn't the case.
No, not at all. So that's exciting. Well, speaking of all the industry and stuff and everybody working at these great jobs who should invest money with you, as we wrap it up, plug away. Tell me, how can people get in touch with you? How much money should they give you? How much should I get out of that? A little bit of cut?
Well, there's all kinds of rules and regulations for that, Colin. So we'll talk about that another day. But no, again, Scott Ferguson, Financial Concepts is the name of my business. Look for the folks with the giraffe on the sign out front. We are on Frontage Road, 2980 North Frontage Road to be exact, in between Columbus and Starkville. You can find us on the web, www.fincon.net. Find us on Facebook, all the social media. I am pretty big on LinkedIn, so follow me. Not that I'm a big guy on LinkedIn. I don't have a lot of followers, but I'm pretty active is what I would say on LinkedIn. So if you want to learn more about me, my family, what I believe, that's a great place to connect and learn about me. But as far as helping folks, I want to help anybody, right? Anybody that wants to make an improvement in their financial life and their financial future, we want to do that. I know a lot of folks have a minimum balance that you got to have to get started. That's not the way that we do things, okay? Because most of us weren't born with a big bag of money. Yeah. So guess what? You got to start where you are. So if you got, $1,000 that you want to get started investing, we're going to help you with that. If you've got millions of dollars that you want to say, I've got this nest egg that I've got, I want to transition into retirement and have distribution income, all those kind of things. I'm an expert at helping folks do that. I mean, retirement is my bread and butter. That's where I'm really, really good. But as far as helping folks in the beginning stages, the middle stages of life, we can do that. I've got a team of folks who are built around helping you get from point A to point B. So whether it's investing for retirement, college, whatever it is, maybe you want to invest in real estate, but you want to build up a little bit nest egg before you do it, we can help you do those kind of things.
Well, the important thing is to get started on that. I didn't have any semblance. I'm almost 50 years old. At 44, I had $0. What just always worked for myself wasn't a thought. And the older you get, the more you think about it.
You start seeing that finish line.
Taking that couple hours to do it, a lot of people, I think, are probably stuck by the embarrassing part, like, oh, I didn't do it, or they think all their friends have it. And I think we're probably at a part of the country where under 50 years old, there's a large percentage of people who have no retirement or a couple $1,000s who are, first of all, going to be in a bad spot, but most of it is the conversation of they don't want to do it. Like, I've been teaching my kids, and I didn't have this as a kid, like, the more you get in, the earlier you get. Like, both of them have a couple thousand.
Time. I mean, time is the key. I mean, the more time that you got, the easier it's going to be. But the fearful of having that conversation and the financial skeletons that we've all got in the closet. Look, we've all had financial mistakes. We've all got skeletons back there. Having that conversation, working with somebody can help take a lot of that burden that you're carrying, saying, oh, I made this horrible financial decision. Yeah. Well, if you don't let it go, it's going to hold you back. Going back to the pain of a loss hurts twice as much as the reward felt of a gain. Yeah. We got to get rid of that pain from that loss to move forward. And then again, we don't want to have that conversation, or we look at our friends and say, well, our friends are better off than we are. Well, I can tell you, I have conversations with a lot of folks in a lot of different settings, stages of life. Your friends probably not where you think that they are. There's a whole lot of keeping up with the Joneses, so to speak. And somebody may drive that fancy new shiny car, but it may be financed for 1,000 months. I mean, you can't finance it that long, but you get the drift, right? And so making sure that you're not comparing yourself to somebody else and focusing on yourself, your own goals, That's the key. And this is what we do all day long, every day, is helping
Yeah.
folks figure those things out.
Well, that's, I'm passionate about taxes, especially for small business owners. And I preach it from the mountaintop to all my friends, and very few of them want to actually talk about it because they're missing their more expense as a small business owner, but they're just like, they don't want to share that I don't make this much or I don't look like this.
right.
And it's a hard thing. It's just a hard thing to talk about. As far as bad financial decisions, our guest next week will be my wife, who will talk for 3 hours on the multiple bad financial decisions I've had, including buying a house without telling her. So one time,
Colin, man.
it was a rental house. It was a good deal. The deed came in the mail, and she just wanted to know what I was doing. So
Okay. I thought you were going to be on the
by the
couch.
way,
How long were you on the couch?
a little
for that
tip from your Uncle Colin: don't do that at all. So what's the next event coming up for the Rowdy Foundation?
Yeah, we've got a big event coming up. So Rowdy's Roundup is coming up on September 25th at Prairie Wildlife in West Point, Mississippi. It is going to be a clay tower shoot. We're going to be raising money for the Rowdy Foundation so that we can do the events. We do Sensory Santa. We do a basketball tournament. We do rowdy races. We do movie events. We do all these different things. Not only is it going to fund those events, but it's also going to allow us to go back out there and support those things in the community, whether it be TK Martin, the Golden Triangle Autism Center. So come on out. There's information on our website, getrowdy.org, where you can learn about this event. You can sign up for it. We are looking forward to having a great time in September. Should be dry weather in September. And come out there and let's have some fun shooting some clays.
Well, good deal, man. It's been great having you here today. This is the Good for Business podcast, and y'all go make some business.